Hey, welcome to the show. Today, JT and I are talking about the physical qualities that you lose as an aging grappler or an injured grappler. Here's what we're going to cover in today's episode. You're going to learn what the number one physical quality is that we lose as we get older. And let me give you a tip. It's not strength. You're also going to come to understand what it is I learned about athleticism after having 2 knee surgeries and a kid. Third, we're going to talk you through how we structure our training to make sure that we get exposure to all of the things that we need to be athletic. And the last thing you're going to learn is how you can reverse the aging clock to restore your athleticism and prevail on the mats. We'll get into it in a sec. Before we do, I want to ask you a favor. Like, subscribe the show, show your support. If you are listening on an audio platform, give us a 5-star review. Goes a really long way to helping this show get in front of other epic grapplers just like you. Let's get into the app. Hey bro, so came to this thought, looking at jiu-jitsu, strength, conditioning related content, as I always am.
Yes, sir.
Making it too. But you know, someone talking about power.
Yes.
Right? And this ability to, you know, move weights, move objects at speed, right? And be like, yeah, super important, right? It's kind of like a fundamental quality of athleticism.
Yes.
At the same time, I'm still doing like this knee rehab.
Yep.
And it's for the more recent kind of meniscus damage. But it's really good because I've still kind of got rehab to do on the knee that I had surgery on all those years ago.
Sure.
Right? Because it just doesn't perform the same as it used to.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I've been doing in rehab it's power based.
Okay.
Right. But it's not, it's not power clean. It's not the heavy shit.
Sure.
It's bouncy stuff, springy stuff, hopping, it's jumping, like single leg jumping, like depth drops.
Yep.
Dropping and then jumping back up onto something. Yeah. It's like this whole range of plyometric stuff.
Yeah.
But not high intensity, right? Like I'm not maxing out my box jump.
Sure.
And it's a quality to me that I'm like, that's become so clear as something that I've started to lose, right? And that I see in older people, both like older populations like my dad or my mum, but also in older grapplers.
Yes.
And so it's this idea of agility. And I've got like 3, it's agility, springiness, power. It's all of those qualities, right? It's the ability to bounce and move like light on the feet.
It requires speed.
Yeah. It's fast and it's like there's a springy quality to the body and it's the thing that you see people lose, right? Now, kind of the frame of this episode is like it's the quality that older grapplers are going to lose.
Sure.
But you can also come to this through injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you might be whatever, young and not have that age piece as a concern. But if you've had a couple of like knee recos or something.
Damage.
That's right. You basically are going to be kind of like an old man or
you've
an old
aged.
woman.
Yeah, like damage is the indicator of age, right? So if you've gone really hard early, like Nicky Ryan, and you've had 2 knee recos before the age of 25, those are some older knees now.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
How do you get back the spring in your step? This is the challenge, right?
And it's the piece, right? Like, so let's, I guess, so that being said, let's talk about it like as you age. There's most of our physical characteristics are just inherent, right? When you're a teenager, like say you've done a moderate amount of sport through your teenage years and whatever, and you've around, done some weights and played some football and some stuff, you usually just have certain athletic qualities.
Do you mean it's inherent in your lifestyle, or what do you?
Well, yeah, you don't even have to think about them, and you just have them.
Sure, but,
right.
But no, yeah, you're not necessarily actively cultivating them when you're younger, because being younger is what's the word? It's set up for you to be active, to be healthy. Like it's encouraged.
I mean, for most, yeah.
For some.
Yeah. And of course, for those who like don't engage in sports and do any of that, yeah, you usually see, right, when They kind of struggle to exhibit athleticism.
Yes.
But particularly here in Australia, right, where we're fucking big on team sports and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's questionable. I think if we go to the stats, we're still pretty obese in Australia as well. But
Well, this is true. But
we like the idea. We like the idea.
But so anyway, you get on a little bit, and then these things are no longer assumed,
Yes.
right? You have to be deliberate about it. And this is obviously our whole thing is telling people to be deliberate about going to the gym and stretching and looking after yourself and that whole piece.
Yeah.
As you get further down the path, you like strength as a thing, which I think most people listening to this are on board with. Yeah, strength is important.
It's valuable.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm going to go to the gym a couple of days a week.
Even if I don't lift, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's right. And next year, brother, 2025. Let's go.
That app eventually.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. My dad, right? He's in his late 70s. He's still strong.
Yeah.
You know, he could still
Old man strength.
Yeah, he could still work all day, carrying fucking planks of timber from the front to the back and build a garden bed and shovel and make some concrete. I don't think he concrete. He's not a Greek, but but you know, but like he can he's strong.
Yes.
You know, if I said, Dad, I need you to pick me up, he'd come over and he'd
Give it a
find a way
crack.
to pick me up, right? And my mum too. And mum is also flexible, but she's pretty exceptional.
Your mum's quite an active lady.
She is. She is, and she's also gifted.
Okay.
She's been gifted with like good range of motion and mechanics, right?
Okay.
But what my dad is not, he is not at all agile,
Right.
right? Like, and if you asked him to do something that required agility, right? Well, let's think of like some basic things that maybe people don't think about, like jump rope, like skipping.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? If you were like, hey, try this, no chance.
No way.
If you were like, hey, there's the bus that you got to get on. It's about to leave. I just need you to fucking take
Sprint.
15 fast steps. Like, just get there.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Right.
That's not happening. You know, if he tripped and needed to like catch his feet,
Right.
he would probably not catch his
Probably
feet,
stack,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
probably stack it. And so, what am I getting at there? The quality that's maintained as you get older, particularly if you express it, like any physical quality, is strength.
It can.
It can, yeah, if you don't express it, right?
Yes.
But if you express strength, if you put your body under load, if you do physical work,
Sure.
if you lift weights, whatever, you will maintain that, and that's a beautiful thing because you can have that almost until the day you die, assuming that there's nothing, you know, whatever that.
No
that
other
gets-
medical complications.
That's right. But the quality that you will lose is this agility, springiness piece.
Yes.
Right? This is the first one that I want to talk about. Because I'm feeling this, right? With my knees, I'm like, I'm building it and it's great. It's one thing to be like, you know, I'm doing some jumping work on two legs and you're like, oh, this is feeling pretty good. And then you go to single leg stuff and you're like, whoa,
Totally
man,
different.
I'm super uncoordinated on one side. I'm weak there, or that hurts.
Yeah.
Or I don't feel confident to do that.
Yes.
Right? And I'm really thinking about the kind of 45 plus grappler
Sure.
that's like in the gym doing the thing and on the mats doing it, but they pay no attention to this. And this conversation, I really want to speak to that person because I'm like, you can restore this quality,
Yes.
but you have to work on it deliberately.
Oh yeah.
Now you've had your knee injury, right? MCL damage or PCL.
PCL. Yeah.
And just general injuries, you know. Talk to me about your sort of journey with this agility piece.
The left knee is not as stable, and actually I started to get a bit of knee pain on and off last probably 2 years. Like I didn't notice it as much before, but for sure there's no PCL there. So certain positions it's not as stable, and I've noticed it more with pistols. Like when I'm like, yeah, because I used to just drop down and give me 10 pistols, like just on the spot.
Yeah.
Left knee's a bit doesn't want to go to the very deep end range, and also I've noticed that like you're saying, like catch your step. If you trip and then I'm more likely to roll or fall on the left side. Like just I've noticed, not that I'm always tripping. Joe may argue otherwise, but
Trip ass bitch.
But the thing is, my right side, I don't feel any. I have no question in my mind.
No apprehension.
No, I'm like right knee, right? Same thing, shooting. Like if I'm going to shoot, like it's most grapplers if they've done judo or they've done wrestling, depending on the person, it's usually right foot forward.
Yeah.
And so even though I've trained it a lot, I like to train both sides. I find it so hard to confidently just drive with my left knee forward over my toe.
Yeah.
And consequently, this has affected my hip as well. I have a bit of a hip shift. Now I'm squatting heavier and doing different things. My right hip, knee, ankle complex is more confident. This is a problem. I have more leg drive out of my right side. So I have hip shift to the left, which means the left side of my lower back.
Oh, because it pushes you onto the weaker side.
Yeah. It's not driving up as hard or as strong as it needs to. So speaking of what you're saying here, I actually have to spend a bit more time warming up, prepping, exciting, getting my left side to keep up with my right side.
Yeah, right.
So it's not that I'm now suddenly doing heaps of unilateral stuff, but because the load is going up, I am getting stronger. It's highlighting deficiencies.
Yeah.
Which means I got to put some time on it, right? And it's okay. I'm not doing a ton of agility work, but I'm spending way more time just trying to keep my range. Like, I think this is the thing that people are probably less aware of. If you are aware of it, it is the frustrating thing. It's often how we might feel about the economy. We're going to work twice as hard to just stay the same. Inflation's a bitch. And age and time is also a bit of inflation and inflammation on the joints.
Yes.
So this is the thing. I actually have to double my warm-up. And this is the thing. This is why I got to get to the gym. Like, I know how much time I need for the gym because I know I used to do like a 10-minute warm-up. Now I need like a 20-minute warm-up.
Yeah.
Like, guaranteed. If I don't do the 20-minute warm-up, the lifting will not be as good.
You have always been very diligent with that.
It's frustrating to think that after all this time, that I haven't gotten better. Like, I've gotten better in ways. But because I know what I know, I'm aware of how much shit I got to do now. It's like ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
The meme, the like half-wit meme, the like annoying guy in the middle, and then the like sage level, and the half-wit says the same thing as the sage. Like the half-wit's like
I haven't seen this meme.
Okay, it's pretty good. Like, it's just like an internet meme. Like Luke Tulloch posts similar things where it's like the half-wit's like, oh, there's no gym. I'm going on holiday. There's no gym at the hotel. I guess I'll just run on the beach. And then it goes to like the midwit. The midwit's like, I won't be able to optimize my muscle length and hypertrophy. And then it goes to the sage, and sage is like, oh, there's no gym. I'll just go for a run on the beach. Like it's one of these things is that over time, my understanding is like when I was younger, I knew I had to warm up because it was good for me. But now it's like, if I don't warm up, there's not going to be a good workout.
Yeah, you will feel it like explicitly in the body when you're training.
And it's not about me being overly controlling or OCD. It's just that I know better.
Yeah.
And I have to do it. So this is the thing for me. I think I would like to do probably a little bit more. So I want to get some sprints in over summer. So that's where it's going to show itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, jiu-jitsu builds and balances, right? And so it's not only just that we are able to get strength, but we have to spend a bit of time restoring imbalance side to side. In today's episode, Joey and I discuss what can slow you down. And we've all felt that way where we've felt a bit flat and we haven't rolled well. Dehydration can be a major factor which is creating lag in your jiu-jitsu. But we have the answer, Sodi. Sodi is the perfect blend of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, which is going to put the pep back in your step. Go to Sodi, SODII.com.au and use the code Bulletproof15. And that way you can get 15% off and you could be feeling alive, energetic, and hydrated.
Yeah, so I first I think I was first kind of hit like by a truck with this thing after I had my first knee surgery. Because you go on the rehab process and it's like, yeah, you're going to get your strength back and you're so kind of crippled initially.
Yes.
And then you and then you start doing some strength work and restoring range of motion. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, I can do weighted squats again. I can do pistols again. And you do it. And then, if you've got a good rehab plan, and then at some point your physio or whatever's like, hey, now it's time to start learning to run again. And you're like, okay. And you're like, I hadn't really thought about losing that. And then you go to the park and you got these drills and you're like, this is so hard.
Challenge.
You're like, oh my, like I'm so flat footed. And you actually, like in that moment for me anyway, you're like, it's gone. Like my youthfulness is gone.
The spring in the step.
Yeah, right. The thing that I always took for granted, right? Just being able to run.
Just go.
Yeah, like, oh, well, it's a game of soccer. Let's go. Let's play, or whatever. Mr. Whippy Van, let's get it.
Get that ice cream.
But so like that is like I find that that as a quality to have and then not have is like a real kick in the nuts.
It's confronting.
Right? And like a lot of physical qualities, if you could have them in one moment and then not have them the next, like say your level of strength could be reduced by 90%.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, and you wake up and tomorrow you are 10% as strong as you are now, you would be like
still stronger than most of everybody. Right there, folks.
But you'd be crippled, like you would be mentally fucking crippled, right?
It would be very confronting.
But this shit tends to happen slowly. It tends to creep into our lives.
Yeah.
And you tend to change your lifestyle, like with anything, you tend to change your lifestyle to accommodate it. And before you know it, you're like, oh, I don't think, but you found a way to accommodate that thing. And so you're kind of willfully turning a blind eye to it.
I think this is, speaking directly to that, look at a person's footwear. This is why, like this might be partly the rise in Crocs or no. But no, hear me.
Yeah.
Does the person actually tie their shoelaces? Right? Because you've got to bend over and do that. Or is it just kick-ons, slip-ons? And what you notice in higher calorie humans who maybe don't have as good mobility as others, they're just shoes that you kick on, right? You'll notice they don't have a heel.
Wow.
They didn't bend over to actually pick their foot up and put their foot in and tie their fucking laces.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not talking about...
This is accommodating your fucking
right? Because you
laziness.
See it more and more. Yeah, like, or even your physical inability to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's much harder to wear pants with a belt if you can't find a belt big enough. So everything's elastic, right? Like all these things, it just helps us to not confront the fact that our bodies are not necessarily working the way they used to.
Yeah.
And your jiu-jitsu is the same. This is the beauty and the curse of jiu-jitsu, I will say. Jiu-jitsu is awesome because you can find a way to work around it. The half guard was a byproduct of Gordo jiu-jitsu hurting his knee, right? So he invented this game that allowed him to keep doing jiu-jitsu. It's like many things. Like there was a very famous judo player, Koga, who broke his arm very severely before a couple of weeks out. So he invented these throws, which were just one-arm throws, and he became famous for that. And so it's cool because jiu-jitsu does give us the freedom to work with different games, but it also allows us to get away with some bullshit. And we go, no, it's just my game now. I've just become the old half-guard, slow crush guy.
Really digging this, yeah.
Yeah. There's some real value in the fundamentals, Joe. None of this flying triangles bullshit for me. You're like, bro, come on now. Yeah, I don't like any of that jiu-jitsu where I can't physically do it, so I just bag the jiu-jitsu I can't do.
Dude, it's so true, right? And it's a blessing and a curse.
Sure. We can stay in the game, but we are giving ourselves permission to not actually physically improve.
That fucking slide-on footwear one that hit me hard. It's true. You see so many people wearing those shoes now, and you're like, damn, like it's just removed another layer of physical competency that you would have expressed every day, which is put your shoes on, and tie your laces.
And you would experience it. Sometimes I experience it usually after like a day of like real heavy deadlifts. Lower back gets pretty kind of not sore, like, but just stiff.
Yeah.
And so I go to like
pull your knee to your chest.
Pull your knee to your chest in a flex position. You're like, oh, my back. Like,
Yeah.
I feel that, right? And there's an old man, they call it the old man test, which is, can you, with no socks on, like lean forward like a single leg deadlift, stand on one leg, put sock on your foot.
Yeah.
Lean forward, keeping your balance without putting your foot down, pick up your shoe. Now put your shoe on. Now tie the laces, balancing on one foot. Or do you have to sit down to do it?
Yeah.
Or do you have one of them mad fucking shoehorn cane daddies to try and slip your foot in? You know what I mean? Like my grandpa used to have that for his slippers.
Yeah.
He'd have one of those long kind of ornamental things and then just, so he couldn't bend forward to even put his slippers on, right? So that's a thing.
It's a thing, man. So, so like to that point, right, about like having it and then not having it, you, like as with a surgery, you get a really, like you really feel it. And that's almost great because you're like, holy shit, like I've lost this thing.
Shock.
I got to get it back, right? Whereas when it's a slow burn, you maybe don't come to that realization. The other time when I noticed this, that this quality is lacking, say in my day-to-day, is with my kids, where they just want to do some shit. They want to wrestle, or they want to do cartwheels, or handstands on the grass, or
Sure.
Leo, my boy, wants to do these little expression sessions where it's like he does a little sequence of movements, and then I say, "What about this?" And then I do one, and then he says, "What about this?"
Breakdance battle.
Yeah, it's like a little battle, and I love it. Right? It's precisely who I am and the qualities that I want to instill in them.
Yeah.
And it was a big part of my life doing shit like that when I was really into the movement. But I feel myself getting increasingly like, nah, mate, let's just come on, let's do something else.
Play monster trucks, buddy.
Yeah. And it's because my knee's a bit sore. I don't want to just jump onto my hands and do a cartwheel.
Sure.
Warm up the wrists a little bit, like, and so usually I have this exchange in my mind, and then I check myself, and I'm like, no, do it. This is good. This is what you need.
Yeah.
But I'm alerted to that thing of like, hey man, this quality is drifting away unless you bring it back.
Yeah.
And so I just, like I guess I want to share it because I want people to fucking expose themselves.
Yeah.
To that, and I want older, people who are getting older and with the grappling thing and want to stay in the game and want to stay athletic, to go, hey, this is a side of my training that I need to maintain.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get you to do like hectic plyometrics, which I think are great.
Sure, they're good.
And I think Olympic lifting's great and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I know people who do Olympic lifting and who do plyometrics who do not have this quality. Right. They don't have the ability to be agile and light on their feet.
Right.
And it's like becoming a flat-footed athlete.
Right.
Like, man, it's going to happen at some point.
Well, some people already there.
Yeah.
For some people, it's not even. The hardest thing about jiu-jitsu is not being on the mats. When your body takes a knock or you cop an injury, you can't train, do not be a victim of FOMO. You can get smarter when you're not at class. How? With Submeta. Submeta is the most comprehensive online platform for learning BJJ. It doesn't matter if you're a white belt all the way through to being a black belt. There's something in there for you. Also, it is structured in a way so that you actually remember the lessons. This is key. When you go to submeta.io, use the code Bulletproof16 and you get $16 off and you start your learning journey today. And like they were flat-footed as teenagers. They're flat-footed now, like there was no point at which they had the springiness, maybe because they never learnt what the springiness is, or no one ever actually empowered them or guided them toward it. So maybe because we can keep the age chat in there, but like we said before, you could be in your early 20s and be like, yeah, you know what? I feel flat-footed. I feel slow. I've never been fast. I don't know how to be fast. What do I do? I'm here for it. I'm listening.
I'll build it.
Yeah. Like what? How are we thinking about this?
So like, I got a couple of different ways that I frame it for myself.
Please.
One, I do think that learning to run barefoot is a really worthwhile journey.
It is completely different. Like And the thing is, we don't do it, right? Like, it's very rare. It's such a societal thing that if you see someone in bare feet, if you're not at the beach, you're like, that person's a dero.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? You're homeless. You're a nutcase. Or they're a movement enthusiast.
That's right.
You know, they've got a man bun. They may try and invite you to a movement camp in Thailand. That's what's going to happen. They'll be doing body waves all the way down the street. But
I want to show you my spinal waves.
they'll look amazing. But here's the deal. Like, one of my problems, because I used to be a runner and now I'm very kind of anti-run, it was all heel strike. It was like, get the shoe that has the foam that protects the heel. You strike with the heel.
Hit the pavement, off you go.
And go, right?
Yeah.
And then you end up with all these chronic problems. And for a lot of people, it's the way. But then you'll notice that if you take your shoes off, you can't heel strike.
No.
You will notice that you do run more midfoot and on the forefoot, and it's a completely different way to move.
Yeah.
Whether it's concrete or grass. Like, you cannot heel strike when you're barefoot.
Yeah. And I think that to that point, like there's multiple, like if you go and learn to run barefoot, like there's multiple benefits to this. First is like you're getting barefoot and you're probably in the park on the grass, which is excellent, right? Grounding, whatever. Yes. It's great to be barefoot in the grass. But the second thing is that you are building this quality of springiness and you are training a movement pattern that your body was designed to do, right? So you're learning to run properly, and you're building strength through a pattern that is kind of built into your DNA, right?
Yes.
Your ankles benefit from it, your knees benefit from it, and your hips. And the reason you feel that because when you first do it, your ankles and your knees hurt.
They do.
And you're like, oh, and if you come in like the scenario I had where you come off surgery or whatever, you feel it like you cannot do it. It hurts, you're bottoming out, you're heavy. Yeah. And then as you do it more, you're like, well, I'm getting lighter, I'm getting lighter. Yeah, it's the quality's improving.
Yeah.
But then the third layer is that you turn that into sprinting.
Sure.
And sprinting is the athletic quality that we all want. You want it as a grappler. You want it as just someone who values fit. Like
I don't know if we all want it, but it would be good for all of us to have it.
I would, if you like.
No, I'm gonna argue. There's plenty of people out there who go, no, Joe, I don't want to run nowhere.
No. You might not want to do it, but I would say that everyone would look at track athletes, like 100-meter runners, and you'd be like, yes, that's athleticism. Look at the muscle mass.
Yeah,
look at the speed.
Yeah, of course.
And you look at athletic grapplers. You look at people like PJ Barch or the Real Tolos, or and you're like, like blitzing in, takedowns.
Sure.
You want that quality. You might not be prepared to do it, right? Which is the case with a lot of this shit.
Yeah.
But so if you're out there in the park and you're working on it,
sure,
you're moving in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just versus I leave the office and I put my runners on and I go for a jog around the concrete block. Nah, that is not, because jogging is not the thing. Jogging is the heel strike.
Yeah,
jogging
is
is
shuffle, and it's very, even though it seems efficient because it's low energy output, it's very inefficient in the way it develops your patterns.
Yeah.
It's not a good use of your calves, your quads, your glutes. Like, it's very...
You're not getting stronger.
Nah.
I actually, funnily enough, I went for a walk yesterday, a big walk, and then on my way back, I had that awkward thing where I crossed the road and there was a guy on the footpath, a jogger, and we kind of were on the same part of the footpath at the same time. So I was like, oh, it's a bit awkward. And I figured, he's jogging though, he's going to move ahead. And he was walking up the hill, so we kind of maintained like a distance. Pace. And then he would jog on when we got to the flat or the downhill.
Oh,
but my walk was the same pace as his jog. He was cooked. He looked like he might have been out for hours. It was fucking hot. It was like 37 degrees
for sure.
And but I was like, well, this is awkward. I'm walking, he's jogging, and we're going at the same speed, right?
You didn't just blow him off. You're like,
I did. I overtook him. I overtook him on the uphill because I'm like, well, I'm going to keep my walking pace up the hill, and he would slow to a slow walk. And then he overtook me on the next downhill, and
you blew him off with your walk.
But that's right. But
hilarious.
But yeah, so there's not a lot in jogging that's of benefit, right? No. It's a bit of a myth. Whereas running, yes, mechanically, explosively, athletically, you're gaining so much from it.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. I think I've been saying it for the last few summers, I'm like, I'm going to get out of the park and do some sprint training this summer.
Yep.
But you know the other shit that I used to do?
Yes.
Often, and you probably would have seen me do this, I used to do back tucks often.
Oh, right.
You know,
yeah.
I wanted to, or I called it a backflip, but it's a back tuck, right? We're
Yeah.
standing, jump, fucking spin backwards, land on your feet.
Somersault.
Yeah, and somersault is onto the hands,
Oh,
I believe.
okay. I have no idea. This is not this is not my wheelhouse at all.
Yeah, but so that was my shit, right? Like, and so when I was in the movement thing, and so I'd go down to the park, do some fucking car wheels, do some handstands, do some back tucks. This is some springy shit. It's like I'm expressing some springiness.
Pull the knees in.
Yeah. I definitely can't do the back tuck anymore. I'm not really as, frothy on handstands as I was. So I just don't go to the park and play on the grass anymore.
Right, right.
So I need a deliberate thing, i.e. running or running practice or knee rehab program
Put you there.
to make me do it, right? And I know I speak about this a lot, but the people that you do see who maintain this springiness quality?
Older Chinese people.
Old Chinese
They're
cats.
in there.
They're doing it.
They're whipping and dipping. They're kicking. They're spinning.
Yeah, and this is a facet of flexibility training too, right? It's ballistic flexibility.
Yeah.
Bouncing, right? And the ability to bounce is a quality to your tissues, like to your connective tissues largely, but like to the tissues, the soft tissues in your body, to be able to bounce, absorb load, spring back.
Yeah, that's right. Like to agility is that ability that's like brake, like the deceleration, acceleration, and minimizing the delay in between.
Yeah.
That's hard. And that you got to, like you're saying, you've got to condition your connective tissue to that. So strength is something like we talk about like old man strength, right? Because actually strengthening your fascia, your tendons, your ligaments takes time. The strongest people in the world are typically older because it takes a long time. It takes you 10 years, 15, 20 years to get maximally strong. But there is a point at which you become stronger than you are flexible. There's a point at which, you're really strong, but maybe you've lost a certain...
You're rigid.
You've given up a certain amount of range of motion in the name of that strength. And maybe if that's all you want, that's okay. But when you can't sit down properly or you can't touch your toes or you can't wipe your own ass or like your shoulder's that bad that you can't put your hand behind your back, you're like, oh, hang on, this is not right. And it becomes, it even goes a bit further than that. If we do talk about the age piece, where balance is a form of coordination that we probably find quite I feel underrated. And that's probably a skill that I spend a bit more time working on, that I will come up with excuses to walk on the gutter because I like to imagine that I'm a tightrope walker.
Yeah.
What was it? Between Two Towers, I forget the gentleman's name.
French dude.
Yeah, it's like
There's always a French dude doing this
crazy guy, like Jean-Paul Wolfgang something. Anyway, it is so, because I'm scared of heights. This is one thing I'm really scared. Yeah, my one irrational fear is just being immensely high and falling to my death. But I like to just get like if they're like even the wall out here, like with the gut, like, can I stand up on that and walk along that?
Yeah.
Or if there's like a trail of bricks, or could I hop from brick to brick and just like in a playful way. But then on days I'm tired, my balance is off, and I'm like, get it together, like come on, like it's like a focus and attention thing, but it's a skill.
Yeah.
Flexibility is a skill. If you do not practice it, you will be shit at it. Same thing, strength. It's a skill. You have to practice it over and over. It's not something you can do one time and now you're strong. It requires a certain degree of maintenance. But it is easier, once you've attained a certain level of strength, to maintain it, right? And I believe it's true of flexibility too, even though flexibility can go away on you a bit quicker. If you have achieved, like you were talking about your mum, like a really good range of motion, like whether it's, a certain amount of genetic makeup or practice or whatever it is, if you've been able to get yourself to a full front split or a middle split or a pancake or whatever, even when you're at your stiffer amounts, it's easier to go there than if you've never been there. This is definitely a thing. But if you can start to look at these qualities like hopping, agility, as a skill and you need to practice it. You can't expect to be good at something you don't practice.
Hey, guess what? Bulletproof for BJJ t-shirts are finally available, and this time we've got 2 designs for you guys. We've got the core tee, which is the brand one with the little fist on the front, big fist on the back, and you can get that in a few different colors. And then we've got the limited edition Some Days Pour Harder, which is our core message. This shirt was actually designed specially by one of our listeners over in Europe. You can only get the Some Days Pour Harder shirt in the month of December. Both shirts you can get at fanwear.com.au. That's fanwear.com.au. And then just go to their athlete profiles and find Bulletproof for BJJ, or you can just chuck it into the search box. You will also cop a 10% discount when you bundle 2 or more shirts. So get on there, fanwear.com.au, represent Bulletproof, wear with pride. No, that's right. And I think for me, it all boils back down to you have to express these qualities.
Yeah.
And if you express them often, then they're yours. And so strength is usually, for our people, easy to express because you're in a gym, there's weights, and we're following a program. But the springiness thing is it's not inbuilt into the gym.
No.
And it's not inbuilt to our daily life.
True.
It's inbuilt if you are a runner, or if you play soccer or football, right?
Sports, it's usually a requirement.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or maybe you go to a jiu-jitsu academy where the coach is really big on
wrestling or...
Yeah, a bit of athletic stuff on the feet. And they got you doing shooting and stuff in the warm-ups and bouncing and hopping, like what you see a lot in judo.
Sure.
Right? Because it's a big part of judo.
Yeah.
So I think that it is the kind of thing that can be maintained to an adequate degree without a huge amount of time being spent on it. The other place I was going to say where I get it in is just in my warm-up. So if I'm coming in, it's early, I'm kind of not feeling super energetic, but I start bouncing around.
Yep.
Bouncing around, shaking, swinging the arms, doing my joint rotations, a bit of dynamic stuff. It starts to come back.
Yeah.
It feels good. I'll do a bit of bouncing on one leg, a bit of bouncing on the other leg. That, to me, I'm if I could maintain that in warm-ups a few times a week forever,
yeah,
that's going to keep it at an adequate level for me, right?
Yeah.
Of course, if I'm trying to take it to the heights of athleticism, I got to be more deliberate about it.
Definitely. I think also there's a degree of self-consciousness. People are like, that looks weird.
Yeah.
Who's that weird guy over there bouncing and shaking? Or even people feel weird about moving, lifting your arms up above your head. People are like, what's that guy doing?
No one else is doing that
weird.
exercise.
What's with those arm circles?
Yeah.
Even in a jiu-jitsu gym, which is, it's weird that we all roll around on the ground and do this just art, right? But then you see someone doing a different kind of stretch. Like, what's that weird shit? That stretching stuff. You're like, come on, you're about to strangle me with your legs around my neck and your crotch in my face. That's not weird. Yeah. And the guy can't stretch his chest. What's going on? So I think it's that for the best part, most people are concerned about not fitting in. We often we want to just make sure that as much as we're all individual and we're all unique, it's a human thing. It's really built into the psyche. Don't be weird.
Yeah.
Why you have to be weird for? You're like, fuck, man, I'm just trying to live my life, and I think it's way more beaten into us outside of jiu-jitsu that we need to just fit in, and that it's better for you to be crippled than be weird. That perception.
Yeah.
And now I think that's what makes it, that's the resistance.
Yeah.
The people you see people being very uncomfortable sitting down in a waiting room for hours, but if you stand up and move around and people are like, what the fuck are you doing?
Or you squat down or something, you're at the airport.
Do a Cossack or...
You're like, I feel like a bit weird doing this. But then you do it and you're like, bro, I don't think actually anyone notices.
I'm styling on you. You see me doing a Cossack in the airport, you don't join me, you have bad hips for life. Deep vein thrombosis, am I right? No, it's just one of those things, man. It's just it's interesting because you're saying, older Asian people, whether they be Chinese or not,
they don't give a
they do not care one. No, they overcame.
I just made this exercise
overcame
with the clap.
Communism.
Yeah. And you're like, go for it, son.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Get it. And I think there's massive, massive value in that someone can just go, I'm doing this for me, and it doesn't matter what you think.
Yeah.
And I think this can be a huge unlock for people to, do better for their bodies, for sure.
There was a second part of the quality that we lose that I just wanted to mention, which and we kind of got there already. It's flexibility,
Right.
And it's just that thing of like if you don't express your range of motion, you're not going to have it. What you end up becoming is kind of this rigid, stiff, maybe strong cat, but you're kind of trapped inside a body.
Yes.
Your body can't bounce around. Your body can't move. It can just squeeze shit and lift shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's I don't want to end up in that place.
No.
You know, and I don't hang shit on anyone that maybe has that, but it's like, wouldn't it be nice if you just didn't have these handbrakes on yourself?
Yeah.
You know, because then you can express your strength to an even greater degree.
Yeah.
Right. And you can, and particularly if you're grappling, you can be way stronger on the mats because you can move three-dimensionally.
It's hard to imagine when you have already built a degree of strength through a certain range of motion that you're like, well, how can it be better than this? This is strength.
Yeah.
This is what winning looks like, you know? And then, you know, like I hang out with some people way stronger than me, but if you say to them, hey, like, no load, don't have that weight on your back, how are you to squat that? Like, well, I just can't. It's just not an option. Have you tried? Like, it's because often there's no halfway step, or they're not sure, how do I go from I just can't do that to I can sort of do that and I'm gonna work on it, you know, because like it's not as clear cut as just more weight on the bar. I think this is a big challenge for people, that if someone has really stiff hips or bad ankles or whatever it might be, or they can't lift their arms up, it's not always clear to them, where do I start? Where's level 1 so I can eventually get to level 10? Whereas when you're lifting weights, it's like, okay, you're on 50 kilos now. We gradually add 5 kilos each week, and then eventually you're where you want to be. You know what I mean? I think it's the path to success is not as clear, and that's holding people back as well, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I think regularity is the key with stretching more than intensity. And some people might disagree with me, but I feel like if you can find a way to get 10 minutes in, 15 minutes max, if you can just find a way to do that as often as possible, I mean, every day is ideal, that is a huge thing that you just budget that in every day. For me, it's usually sitting down after dinner, the in-between stage between, do I watch something on Netflix, or should I write something, or should I read a book? Or it's that weird stage where you kind of, maybe you've eaten food and you're not quite bedtime. That's when I find is a good time to just push the coffee table back, sit on the floor, cross my legs, straddle, try and move a bit to undo the tension that's come from the day. That's my time. Some people prefer early morning. I find early morning's a bit more of a loosen up mobility thing. But in terms of stretching, for me, just a little bit of time.
Like holding stretches?
Yeah, breathing. Just
trying
to get my body to relax. This is the hardest thing for me. I'm really good at dialing up. I'm not as good at dialing down. And just trying to sit in a position and just breathe and come to terms with the fact that my body's really uncomfortable. Like, that's tight. Why is my hip that tight? I don't even know why. That's confronting. And I think that's another reason why people don't do it too, is it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of sucks a little bit.
Just a bit. But the post, it's like many people, we don't work out because of how it feels before the workout. If that was the case, then probably none of us would work out.
Yeah.
It's how we feel after, because after the stretch, it's like, oh, wow, it's better. Holy shit, that 5-10 minute investment, now I can sleep better. I'm not in pain when I lie down, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I think as much as sometimes, like, you know, hopping, speed, power, these things, they seem like nice to haves, but like not being in pain and not being restricted, that's a gotta have. Like that's a quality of life type thing you need. So yeah, just I think making time for it in your life, whether it's be a full workout or not, being able to just put away 10, 15 minutes to do some hopping, bouncing, or that's the way I think it could be accessible.
Yeah, I like that. I think we'll wrap it up there. You know, we can talk more at another time. But I hope folks listening, you're catching this, that you're like, okay, springiness, agility, never really thought too much about it. Maybe you can start to sprinkle some in. mornings, evenings, before jiu-jitsu, as part of your warm-up in the gym. But you get it in, you value it as a quality, and it starts to become something that you can have.
Yeah. It's there for you, folks.
Hey, guys, if you're digging the show, please show some support. Like, subscribe, follow, all that shit. Goes a long way, means a lot to us. Thank you.